Good evening and welcome to the City of Battle Creek, Michigan and the Battle Creek City Commission meeting for September 3rd, 2024. I want to start off by saying that we're having a few commissioners running behind due to traffic situations, so they will be here within 10 to 15 minutes. At this period of time, we're going to stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Ballard. If you could please stand for a moment of silence. Commissioner Ballard.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We also have Commissioner Simmons Zooming for this meeting. Commissioner Simmons, can you hear us?
I am here. I can hear you fine, and can you hear me?
Yep, and we can see you too. Thank you very much, Chris.
All right.
Madam Clerk, if you could do the roll call for us.
Commissioner Ballard.
Present.
Commissioner Lance will not be in attendance tonight. Commissioner Morris.
Here.
Commissioner O'Donnell is running a little late. Mayor Banky.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds is running late. Commissioner Simmons.
I am here, joining remotely on military duty tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Present.
And Vice Mayor Sophia. Here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Next item on our agenda is Chair noting any added or deleted resolutions. Madam Clerk?
There were none.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is petitions, communications, and reports.
There were none.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the introduction of ordinance, and we have 15-2024. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
This proposed development, now called Station Side Lofts, is proposed to take place at the former Dolliver Building site at 135 North Washington Avenue near Fire Station 2. According to the developer, the approximately $15 million development will comprise up to 60 units in an up to 4-story elevator-served urban-style building. This proposed ordinance seeks to amend Chapter 882, Real Estate Taxation, by amending Section 23, modifying the terms of a payment in lieu of taxes for the housing development to be known as Station Side Lofts.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported to introduce 15-2024. Are there any public comments at this time? Are there any public comments? Seeing none, are there any commission comments? Seeing none, could we please vote on the introduction of 15-2024?
Sorry, the doors have to be opened. You might want to open your doors on the ends. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the introduction of 15-2024 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is the introduction of ordinance 16-2024. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
This proposed request would amend the pilot for Northern Pines Apartments, which proposes construction of a 56-unit permanent supportive housing community. Permanent Supportive Housing, PSH, is an intervention that combines affordable housing assistance with voluntary support services to address the needs of people experiencing homelessness. PSH is long-term assistance meant for the most vulnerable homeless populations. This proposed ordinance would amend Chapter 882, Real Estate Taxation, by amending Section 22, modifying the terms of a payment in lieu of taxes to Northern Pines Apartments previously approved on October 17, 2023.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to introduce 16-2024. Are there any public comments at this time on the introduction of ordinance 16-2024?
Yes.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, are there any commission comments? Ted, could you just clarify for me, Northern Pine Apartments, where are they located again?
Yeah, so the site that's being targeted here, Mayor, is just across the street on East Michigan from where Schuldeis's development is located. So basically the corner of Elm and East Michigan.
Okay. And you previously have discussed that with us, right?
Yeah, this is the upholdings group that we've been working with for quite some time now, multiple years. And they did submit an application back in December for the funding round from MISTA. We're not successful then and are resubmitting again here in October.
And then is all that property contingent?
Yeah, so
Or are there various lots
Yeah,
throughout
you're
that area?
right, Mayor. There's a grouping of lots there that would make up the development site. The city owns several of those lots. The land bank owns one. One of them is being held by the Battle Creek Community Foundation. All have been committed to this particular project. We do have a purchase agreement in place with upholdings for the city parcels.
Okay, thank you for the information. Are there any other commission comments at this time? Seeing none, would you please vote on the proposed ordinance 16-2024? Ordinance 16-2024 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is resolution to propose, a proposed ordinance 17-2024. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
This proposed development, Manchester Place, is planned to take place at the former Bronson Behavioral Health Facility, commonly referred to as the Fieldstone site, at 165 North Washington Avenue. The subject site consists of 8.81 acres. According to the developer, the development will consist of 3 20-unit, 2-story walk-up apartment buildings that are non-age restricted. The residential units will include a mixture of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom unit types that range in size from approximately 800 to 1,385 square feet. This proposed ordinance would amend Chapter 882, Real Estate Taxation, by amending Section 24, modifying the terms of a payment in lieu of taxes for the housing development to be known as Manchester Place.
So moved.
Support.
So moved and supported to approve the introduction of 17-2024. Are there any public comments at this time? Yes, David. David Moore.
These are very good proposals, but the tax break in it, reducing us regular people that pay taxes, they can't get a tax break from it, and they not paying taxes. Like, we need those taxes. We're getting all these tax breaks. I ain't got that much, know that much about it. Hope I'm saying those something here now, but that's all I got. What concerning me is the taxes.
Thank you, David. It's weighing the benefit of the housing or the taxes. So it's a question that we have. This isn't a done deal. Just because we either approve it or don't approve it doesn't mean that it's going to be built. We're still waiting on other credits from the state of Michigan. Thank you. Yes, Autumn Smith.
I don't like the pilot stuff either, because I do think it is kind of a tax handout, maybe not as big as an abatement and stuff like that, but also it's not supposed to be a question answer back and forth, so please follow your own rules. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. John Kennefic?
This is in regards not simply to the introduction of 17-2024, but the rest of them, I'm including them in one group. But we can talk about that one simply of 17-2024. and that is when they build these units, before Upholdings LLC was operational, they were going to spend $23 million, and there were going to be 51 units over on Van Buren Street and Michigan Avenue. And it was supposed to be a voucher of either 6% that the person had to pay, the renter had to pay, or 30%. That's sort of been in dispute between the Battle Creek Housing Commission and what I was told by Ted Deering, the Assistant City Manager. So my question always comes up, this is a really great thing. I understand that we're going to be housing people, but if this is subsidized housing, for example, and somebody's paying 30% of what the rent would be, and 70% per unit is being paid for by the taxpayer, it's one heck of a burden. How do you afford to do that, especially when other people are struggling that are paying taxes? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments at this time? Hearing none, could you please vote on the introduction of 17-2024?
No, mine didn't come up.
Can you verbalize it?
Yes.
Approve? Okay.
Yes and yes.
The introduction of 17-2024 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is the adoption of ordinance Resolution 537, proposed ordinance 13-2024. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The Open Meetings Act, OMA, Act 267 of 1976, requires public comment be offered at meetings of public bodies, but it only requires that one opportunity for public comment be offered at a meeting. MCL 15.263, Section 5, also provides that persons must be permitted to address a meeting of the public body under rules established and recorded by the public body. The City of Battle Creek Rules of Procedure, as set out in Chapter 212, currently permit a separate period of public comment not to exceed 3 minutes for comment specifically regarding the ordinance introductions and ordinance adoptions. Battle Creek's Rules of Procedure also currently provide for 3 minutes of public comment for any consent agenda item and/or resolutions not on the consent agenda, in addition to 3 minutes of general public comment at the end of the meeting. This proposed ordinance amendment provides one collective period of public comment for all legislative items on the agenda, 1 period of general public comment, and one public comment for public hearings where required by law. The exception is that this proposed amendment increases public comment for all legislative agenda items from 3 minutes to 4. In addition, this proposed ordinance amendment would move up the period of public comment for all agenda items to take place prior to any ordinance introductions or adoptions. The amendment to the ordinance was requested by Commissioner Lance and supported by Mayor Banky and Vice Mayor Sophia. This proposed ordinance, number 13-2024, would amend Section 02, Articles 10 and 17 of Chapter 212, Rules of Procedure of the Commission regarding public comment to ensure a better flow to the business meeting.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adopt ordinance Resolution 537, proposed ordinance 13-2024. Are there any public comments at this time? David Moore.
I think this should be tabled to January and February. I'd like to say why. Because you guys wait till the last month of your 2-year term to decide what you want to do. Next January, we'll have a whole new city commissioner. Like here, we're going to losing our city manager, our attorney. You guys all might be replaced. None of you may not be here next year, may not be. I don't know any idea. And we have a whole new deal, might have a whole new government. The President of the United States, the senators, and on the state level, all going to be changed. I think until we find out the new direction that we're going to go, I think we guys wait. This won't concern this administration. It's going to be concerning the later commissions we will be having. I think you guys should wait and see on this issue. Bring it up in January. It's this term here, your 2-year terms are all done. Might be a whole new system here next year. I think this is a ridiculous proposal. Should be at least tabled to January or February. But let's wait after the election and see what direction we're going to go and what's going to be what. This is silly, right? The last meeting of the year to make a final decision on what you want to do. I think we should table this stupid thing. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Are there any other comments on this adoption of ordinance? Yes.
Reese Atkins, 84 South 23rd Street. I have to agree with Dave. I think this should be tabled because I have been coming to these meetings ever since about the 90s when I used to record this through AccessVision. Back then, we were given 5 minutes per resolution or ordinances. Now you're taking it down to nothing. I agree with what Dave said. Y'all are getting ready to come up for election, and I don't believe this is the right time to be doing any of this stuff. And I don't feel it's right to be taking our ability away and shortening our ability to mention how we feel on different things with the city commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese. Joe?
Joe Harris, Battle Creek. Feeling a lot better than last time I was here, by the way. So, in regard to the public comment, I've been in the Battle Creek area for 49 years. I've been a resident of Battle Creek for about 20. And I've always said that Battle Creek needs to lead the way in regard to things. We shouldn't be followers. We have a unique way that we do public comments, especially on ordinances. Those are the most important things. And when it comes to citizens having concerns, those are things that they're going to want to talk about. I really feel that we should leave it the way that it is. You know, honestly, I'm thinking back to when I was younger. We were encouraged to come to meetings like this. In my opinion, this place should be packed. I don't think people understand the opportunity that they have to come here and speak to all of you. I really just don't. And to take away more opportunity, in my mind, it's discouraging. I think it's discouraging to people wanting to be here. I'm just going to end with a quote. Benjamin Franklin had an alias, Silence Do Good. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but this is what Benjamin Franklin wrote. Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom and no such thing as public liberty. Without freedom of speech, which is the right of every man, as far as by it he does not hurt or control the right of another. And this is the only check it ought to suffer, and the only bounds it ought to know. This sacred privilege is so essential to free governments that security of property and the freedom of speech always go together. And in those wretched countries where a man cannot call his tongue his own, he can scarce call anything else his own. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech, a thing terrible to public traitors. Not that I'm calling you that, but the point is that freedom of speech is so essential. And being able to have citizens to have the opportunity to voice their opinion is essential. So I would encourage you to keep it the same. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Joe. Are there any other public comments at this time? Autumn Smith?
Good Good evening, Arnold Smith, Battle Creek. I know you guys already know my feelings on this. We've been discussing this for quite a long time. And I think you run a danger when you have a very heavy agenda, multiple items and things like that, but also implicit in the right of First Amendment speech is the right to be heard. So when you are silencing other people's right to speak or limiting that right to be of that person to speak, you are also taking away from people in the audience that may want to hear what that person has to say. There's been a few instances here, Mr. Banky, you've had to ask somebody to, quote, dumb things down because you obviously could not hear or understand what they were saying during their time of speaking. That's an example. Some people may speak in a different way. Some people may speak in a different format, use different terms, and so on and so forth, but you do not have the right to censor, to limit, or anything like that, especially when you guys have taken an oath to uphold and defend both the Michigan Constitution and the United States Constitution. We're not asking to sit there and let everybody be up here for an hour. You guys already have restrictions on if it becomes repetitive, if it becomes off topic, things like that. I think we can all agree. But when you guys are crouching multiple agenda items into a meeting and saying you got 4 minutes to talk about 25 things, and I might have something that's a minute long on 3 of them and 30 seconds long on 5 of them, or something like that, you are censoring that person, and therefore, again, like I said, you're prohibiting what other people in the audience may want to hear. Another word, I like to use words to describe things when I see something in action playing out, and I feel that some of the actions and the way you guys are governing is that of a kakistocracy, which is the definition of that is government by the least qualified or most unprincipled citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments at this time? Yes, John.
John Kennefic, 234 South Avenue. If it wasn't for Mr. Binky being a pain in the neck and censoring 20 years ago by cutting off the cameras and public comment so that no one could hear them, that would bring me into play, and unfortunately, you're my soap opera. There are 10 resolutions, or excuse me, there are 3 introductions, 1 adoption of an ordinance, that's 4, plus you've got 6 other resolutions in the public comment in the consent agenda and not on the consent agenda. You're bearing that down to a total of 4 minutes amongst 10 resolutions. Think you can do 10 resolutions about specific things that happen within here? Sometimes they're extremely complicated with hundreds of pages just for a resolution. It's very difficult to just go through that along with hundreds of other pages. What it's talking about here basically is you're trying to make things easier for yourselves, not for the public. You used Grand Rapids by saying Grand Rapids cuts this stuff out, so why shouldn't we? So if they want to be a censor, you should go along with that too? Is that acceptable? You tell people that you want people to come up here and speak and give their concerns. No, you don't. Look in your audience. How many people up here that you've seen that's been new people that come up here and give you your concerns? I'm usually up here because I know what I'm talking about in regards to some of the resolutions. Otherwise, I wouldn't be up here. But the interesting part of the whole thing is there are people up here and you're not giving them sufficient amount of time. Back then, it worked like this. If you had an introduction of an ordinance, you had 3 minutes. If you had, and there are 3 introductions, that's a total of 9 minutes to speak up here. Then you have one more, which is the adoption of ordinance. That's another 3 minutes. So you're at 12 minutes if people want to speak on the subject. They don't have to, they can. That leaves you the consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda. Those are 6 resolutions. You're allowed 3 minutes for those. 3 minutes to discuss 6 resolutions? Think you could do that in a 3-minute time period? It sounds like you're being more efficient and effective. You're not. You're just moving the system down to more suppression. And if anybody happens to be in the military, they also took an oath of office to defend the United States Constitution. I wonder how people that are in the military that are elected people don't really care for the Constitution by being a censor. Kind of makes you wonder. I suggest you do not pass this. You can shine more time. Maybe it'll take a little longer, but I will give you a little hint. The citizens of Battle Creek are more important to me than the city commission, especially if they have their rights being violated by the people that are supposed to defend them, but don't want to. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments at this time? Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, are there any commission comments? Chris, any comments?
Mayor, I don't have any indication from Commissioner Simmons that he would like to comment at
No.
this time.
You know, I was trying to text Ted. Yeah, I actually did want to say something. Yeah, I am on military orders, and I have taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the state of Michigan and the federal Constitution. I think when we have a discussion about free speech, freedom of speech, I think in this application, there's a fundamental misunderstanding about what free speech is. You cannot go to the United States House of Representatives and demand to step on the floor and speak as a citizen while a bill is being debated. I don't believe you can do that at the state either. It's not the city's responsibility to provide you a platform for free speech. In fact, I've gone as far as talking to many citizens one-on-one and through some neighborhood planning councils that, hey, why don't you come to our meetings? And part of the reason is many times that our meetings do get hijacked by a small number of people, and they don't reflect the views of our average citizens. And so I think it turns people off. I think this was a fair compromise. I had a long conversation with our former city attorney, Jill Steele, and our new city attorney about the legal ramifications of this. I think a compromise of increasing that 4 minutes. You still have an opportunity during the ordinance and resolution portion at the very end. And indeed, if there's public hearings, you'll have an additional opportunity with that extended time. So I went back and forth on this for a while. I actually was the person who introduced postponing this for a month just to give it some further discussion and some thought and engage with our citizens, and I am supportive of this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any other commission comments at this time? Seeing none, would you please vote on the adoption of ordinance Resolution 537, proposed ordinance 13-2024? The proposed ordinance 13-2024 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment regarding consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda. If you'd like to make public comment regarding the consent agenda and resolutions not on the consent agenda, please raise your hand and we will acknowledge you to come forward to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. Please state your name and address before beginning your comment and indicate which resolution you are speaking to. Are there any public comments at this time? Yes, sir. Welcome to Battle Creek.
Thank you. Nick Zucchi, Facilities Manager for Walters Dimmick Petroleum and Johnny's Markets, located in Marshall, Michigan. We are seeking approval for the special use permit that was approved last week by the Planning Commission to redevelop and reconstruct our Johnny's Markets at the corner of M37 and M89. This takes our 3,000 square foot facility, completely redevelops and in my opinion does an amazing job of beautifying that area and that corner. It doubles our square footage, which increases our offerings that we can bring to the community. It improves traffic flow tremendously and makes a huge, huge difference as far as our offerings and how quickly we can serve and get the community in and out and on their way. Another part of that is a subway that will be on the property as well, included in the building. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful project that we are very excited to bring to Battle Creek. So, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has as well. So,
Okay, if we have any questions, we'll
thank you.
let you know. Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments at this time? Reese Atkins.
Good evening, Reese Atkins, 84 South 23rd Street. I will be speaking on Resolution 543, which is the Shell gasoline station in Urbandale. I grew up in Urbandale, born and raised in Urbandale. It's good to see that they're improving that corner. We don't have another empty building. I was a little concerned when I found out that Speeds was moving into the Urbandale Plaza and what was going on with that building. When I found out that Shell had taken it and bought it and that they were going to expand the gas station there, I was very pleased to hear it and to see that, yes, they are going to beautify that corner. That's going to really blossom that corner quite a bit. It's going to be different to see, but changes occasionally are needed to improve areas and make things look beautiful, and maybe eventually Urbandale Shell will be up in front of all of us for a beautiful Battle Creek Award when they turn around and build the new building and modify that whole corner. It will be very different and it'll be very weird for a while, but I think it'll be the best interest for the Urbandale customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Reese. Any other public comment? Yes, David?
David Moore, 543. I lived in Urbandale all my life. Ever since I was a little kid, I was talking to Roger about it, coming down here. I remember the old Speeds. I remember the bakery on the corner and that 4 gas stations there. A lot of changes are being made right now. This next couple of months, next year, there's going to be a lot of changes out there. I'm happy to see that. Glad to see that improvement. But the Speeds of Urbandale, the owner, I know him real well, and he's a pretty nice person. And Mario, that's my yard. Hotel is in his restaurant, and it's really Urbandale's really come quite a long ways. And I see these it's good, big changes out there, and I've been there for all my life, so a lot of changes there at Urbandale.
Thank you, David. Any other public comment at this time? Yes, John?
John Kinnifick, 234 South Avenue. I'm going to be talking about 2 resolutions. One happens to be Resolution 538, which has to do with camera identification of license plates. I find that kind of interesting because it can be very helpful to determine if somebody's committed a crime, that they can track that license plate and follow it around and find out where it goes. I just find it also interesting that if they decided to use surveillance on somebody who didn't want and hadn't done anything wrong, they could also use that application computer-wise for those same cameras. There was a thing not a few years back where the police in another state, I think it's on the East Coast, that were using surveillance devices where they'd put units underneath somebody's wheel well, and it could track wherever they went, if they were a drug dealer or maybe not a drug dealer. And the saying goes, too, that it's not the beginning surveillance of the citizens of the United States, it is the surveillance. So even though I have no really problem with this, I just wonder if it's not going to be the normal situation. Also, I remember something that happened between Mark Binky and Commissioner Simmons many years ago when both of them went up to Lansing and they were talking about the cameras that were up there. watching people at intersections. And one of the statements was, can they turn the cameras and look wherever they darn well please? And the answer fed back to the citizens of Battle Creek was, no, they can't do that. And the next thing they said, that police officers in their cruisers can tie into those cameras and turn them wherever they want. So there was sort of a contradiction. So I'm not objecting to this, but I sure think that things can be taken in a different direction. Finally, last but not least, a very minor matter. Resolution 543, which has to do with a service station on the corner of West Michigan and Bedford Road. No objections there, but I'm going to read this to you a little bit, and then I'll respond. A resolution seeking to approve petition, a special use permit, request for the expansion of the existing gas station on the corner of West Michigan and Bedford. I have two photographs that I taken today. One was 5:08 p.m. today, before this commission meeting. And this was taken right before 6 o'clock. Same location of Speed's Coffee Shop being torn down. I just thought it was kind of interesting because I had one quick memory of Commissioner Bilbia when he explained that he was going to have a commission meeting. There was a resolution that had to do with the tearing down of the H.B. Sherman building on the west side of the downtown. The resolution hadn't been passed, there was no commission meeting, and yet they were demolishing it. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. They're tearing things down before the approval. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Alderman Smith.
Good evening. I'm commenting on the one about the license plate cameras and stuff too. And it just goes back to strictly like things that the founding fathers said, those who give up their privacy, safety, or whatever in the name of security deserve neither. Or if you give up your freedoms and stuff like that in the name, you can get anything passed if you just say, we're doing it for your protection. We're doing it for your safety. The government knows better. You know, and I just think that's extreme overreach. I think it's like somewhat, you know, borderlines, you know, on the violation of the Fourth Amendment, you know, unreasonable search and seizure. Yeah, I guess you don't have any expectation of privacy when you're out in public. I do understand that. You do have certain limitations on your own private property and stuff like that, but on somebody else's private property, where does this line draw and that line begins? But regardless, I also want to know if this will be used for quotas, ticket quotas. And you can't say you don't have quotas, because if people can get written up in the police department for not writing enough tickets, that means it's a quota, or not performing enough duties. So are we going to have license plate cameras that are going to see somebody speed and then all of a sudden that person gets a ticket mailed to them in the mail, you know, a week later, you were speeding at the corner of such and such and such and such, therefore give us your money and we'll chalk that up to our ticket quota. Just kind of, you know, some gray areas that I'm kind of concerned about. I always believe, you know, the citizens, I believe they need to be protected, but I also believe in our constitutional rights supersede everything, and that comes first. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments at this time? Any other public comments? Seeing none, any commission comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to commend Johnny's on the fixing up in Urbandale, which is my area. And I'm very proud that we were able to locate, with city help, a new location for Speeds. And if you haven't been out there to the new location, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how nice, clean, good-looking, good food that's happening with TAM. And I think that the city, John, and the rest of them in the departments that helped out with TAM deserve an applause. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to comment on 538 here, the license plate recognition. I don't have any issue with the hardware itself, but I would like to see a policy at some point as to how these are going to be deployed. I know the state dictates or prescribes a number of conditions for which this data can be used and how long it can be kept, et cetera. And I'd just like to see something like that adopted locally so we can reflect that and have something straightforward for folks to see when they have questions regarding how this data is being used. So other than that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Could someone move?
Oh, so moved. To adopt the consent agenda.
Support.
So moved and supported to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments by the commission? Seeing none, would you please vote on the consent agenda? The consent agenda has been approved. Sorry, Chris, I didn't ask if you wanted something to say. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 541. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
The invitation for bids was issued May 31, 2024 for the Air Traffic Control Tower, ATCT, rehabilitation project, which consists of crack repair of the existing precast concrete shaft and removal and replacement of certain ATCT electronic equipment located in the ATCT cab and ATCT equipment room. This resolution seeks acceptance of the lowest responsible bid for air traffic control tower rehabilitation project from Berglund Construction Company in a not-to-exceed amount of $373,500.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve Resolution 541. We'll first go to Christopher Simmons to see if Commissioner Simmons has anything to say. I would assume not.
Not on this one, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any commission comment? Seeing none, would you please vote on Resolution 541? Resolution 541 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 542.
This resolution seeks authorization for the city manager to execute a grant agreement with Battle Creek Area Habitat for Humanity for the development and resale of a single-family home to a low-income and moderate-income household at 273 West Spalding, Battle Creek, Michigan, 49037, with Federal Home Investment Partnership funding.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve Resolution 542. Are there any comments by the commission?
Yes.
Commissioner Ballard.
I just want to say a thank you to Habitat for Humanity for the construction of 5 new houses in this area here, which is adjacent and right next door to our church parsonage. And we're fully in support of Habitat for Humanity in doing this. And I would like to give them a plug that if any of you like to pick up a hammer or screwdriver, Tuesdays and Thursdays are good days to just stop out there and volunteer your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ballard. Any other commission comments? Commissioner Simmons?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Would you please vote on the approval of Resolution 542? Resolution 542 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 543.
The subject site is located at 1439 West Michigan Avenue between Bond Avenue and South Bedford Road. The applicant, Walters Dimmick Petroleum Incorporated, owns the property. It is zoned B1 Corridor Commercial District, which allows automobile service stations as a special land use, Section 1240.11. The subject site currently has a convenience store and 8 fuel pumps under a canopy and a commercial building used to house Speed's Coffee. This resolution seeks to approve petition PS UP 24-0002 a special use permit request for the expansion of an existing gas station at 1439 West Michigan Avenue in the B1 Corridor Commercial District located at 1439 West Michigan Avenue, parcel number 4000-00-036-0.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported to approve Resolution 543. Are there any comments by the commission? Commissioner O'Donnell, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. You're fine. These are one of these projects that just get so exciting to have in that area of the neighborhood, and I want to thank you for that investment there. It's going to provide so much for that neighborhood that really needs that bit of grocery, bit of Subway, more gas. Every time I come by, it seems to be full. What really also I'm excited about is what safety you're going to put on the corner. Can you just explain to the group a little bit what you're going to do on that corner to make it much safer?
Yeah, so there's really two parts to that. Number one, we have closed one of the drive cuts at the intersection to control that traffic that occurs right at the corner. And then the other side of it is we have a rear drive that will be designated to delivery trucks only. So it keeps all of those larger vehicles at the back of the property away from all your smaller vehicles and your pump traffic and the customers. So that's the biggest thing to keep them safe.
Thank you. It's just a perfect project, and have you as a perfect neighbor is so great. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commission comments? I have one more. Explain to us, if you can, how you're going to accomplish all this work in such a short period of time.
I would love to take all the credit, but I can't. It's our general contractor. He runs a pretty tight ship, and we do as much as we can with overlapping contractors, and we've got a good core group of people that work very, very well together with the end-all goal of getting the project done on time and at schedule. It comes with some incurred costs, but to us, it's worth it to decrease our downtime for the community, and obviously a little bit for our business as well. But it's...
And what's the goal to get it done? How many days?
The goal is between 75 and 90 days.
Wow.
Is what the goal is. So.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other comments by the commission? Commissioner Ballard.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to have everybody just keep your eyes open. There's lots of nice new things happening in Urbandale. So come out and see.
Thank you very much. Would you please vote on Resolution 543? Resolution 543 has been approved, and once again, on behalf of the people of Battle Creek, we congratulate you. Thanks. Next item on our agenda is general public comment. If you'd like to make general public comment regarding the matters over which the city has control, please raise your hand and wait for us to acknowledge you to come forward to the podium. You will have 3 minutes to make your comment. Please state your name and address prior to beginning your comment. David Moore, are you going to say anything? Thank you. Got to get to Dairy Queen tonight.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there tonight. We'll talk to the boss about that. You think maybe we might? Okay. In 2 months from now, we're going to have a great opportunity, Election Day, get out and vote. This is your opportunity. If you want an opportunity, you're complaining about not speaking up. This is one of the best way to give your opinion and your voice. Get out and vote. And this summer, this commission, there are many opportunities for people get on the board of the city commission. I don't know who's in there yet, but it was a great opportunity for the city of Battle Creek people here get active in the city commission meeting, come down. And but down through the years, there's two sides, yes or no, the conservative, liberal. I think that's out this election more plain. Our two presidential candidates, liberal or conservatives, well outline what they mean. I think we have more knowledge about this election than we ever have before. There's a difference between a liberal and conservative. Minority people, low-class people, ain't been taking that advantage. Now, this is your time, everybody, to get out, take the advantage that you got. This is a privilege. It's a good advantage, the best way to express your opinion. And trying next year, get active in the community. Your voice matters. Everybody matters in Battle Creek. Everybody is equal in Battle Creek and all over this country. This is what this country is founded on. We want all these wars, all these lives been lost. Everybody, every person matters, and everybody is an equal in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other public comment? Joe?
You know, when I was a kid, one of my favorite presidents was Ronald Reagan. And he told a story about freedom of speech. He said 2 men, an American and a Russian, were arguing, and one said, the American said, in my country, I can go to the White House, walk to the president's office, pound the desk and say, Mr. President, I don't like how you're running things in this country. Well, the Russian said, well, I can do that too. The American goes, really? He says, well, yeah. He says, I can go to the Kremlin, walk into the General Secretary's office, pound the desk, and say, Mr. Secretary, I don't like how President Reagan's running this country. Point being is that speech is so important. You know, the good thing about freedom of speech is we can agree to disagree with on things, all right? Honestly, I disagree with what the commission did tonight. I honestly think that we should be unique. I'm hoping that maybe somewhere down the road that, you know, there'll be a change of heart. I'm hoping. I would like to see Battle Creek stand out and be the exception to the rule, be the exception to the norm. I've been to a lot of meetings in Calhoun County between here and Emmett Township and been paying attention to what's going on in Marshall. And one of the biggest things is transparency and being heard. And I will say that I think that cutting, and I understand you've increased the time, but you know, cutting down a person's opportunity to say things is not going to be good in the long run. Well, that's my opinion. But anyways. Thank you. All right, you guys have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Any other public comment? Autumn Smith.
Good evening, Autumn Smith, Battle Creek. Again, I'm just going to reemphasize my point about the First Amendment stuff and the free speech. I staunchly disagree with what Commissioner Simmons stated during his comment. He implied, or the way I took it, was that you guys felt the need to implement this rule. You guys were mocking or copying out of Grand Rapids, but he implied that certain people don't want to come to this meeting because there's a very small certain group of people that dominate the meeting. I'm sure he was referring to myself and Mr. Kennefick and a few others that are regulars here, but I don't take any more time than I'm allotted. So if those people don't feel the right to come to this meeting and speak for themselves, that's on them. They're self-censoring. Nobody's denying them that right. I have to listen to opinions that I disagree with a lot here. I listen to opinions that I agree with. I listen to opinions that I don't really know. I have to go home and think about, you know. That's the cornerstone of democracy. So with that, I'll leave that there. I also want to touch on another issue. There was a attorney evaluation review committee meeting, and I saw the video of it, and it's unfortunate because Commissioner Lance is on that committee, and he made a very valid point because heads up, Attorney Jill Steele opted out of keeping the city's insurance, but she wants to keep the monthly $200 stipend that comes with it if you were to keep the insurance, which that would grant her an extra $2,400 a year bonus to herself without following the way that it's written in the policy. You're supposed to only get that stipend, my understanding is, if you keep the city's insurance. She's opting not to, but she wants to come back and say, oh, I still want the $200 even though I want to stay on my husband's insurance. Commissioner Lance, I believe he asked for it to be tabled or something like that, and he asked for any other, you know, carve-outs and exceptions and rules and stuff like that, where we've done this for other employees, and I'm just going to think of a lot. Ken Tushiyama, when he was on his last term here or whatever, before he got fired, resigned, early retirement, you can paint the picture any way you want. In order for him to receive his bonus or raise or whatever, he was supposed to get at least a minimum of a 3 on his review. He didn't. He got like a 2.56, which on a grade scale of like A, B, C, D, E, F, that's like a F, and you guys went ahead and gave him the bonus anyways. There's also been other times where like the travel expense committee has been supposed to come back and give a report to the commission within 30 days, or else if they don't, they have to pay the funds back. That's been done. So it's like, why do we even have the rules if we're not going to follow them ourselves? You guys should lead by example. I've got a whole slew of more, but I'm out of my time and I don't want to be accused of taking up too much time and intimidating people from speaking their mind. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments at this time? Yes, John?
John Kennevic, 234 South Avenue. I'm going to give you a quote from Benjamin Franklin. And he said that a republic is dependent upon an informed electorate. I crossed paths with a person that was somewhere in my age bracket at the library, and she gave me this interesting piece of information about what happened to all the people that signed the Declaration of Independence. And they didn't make out too well even when they were finally done. A lot of them were killed. A lot of their families and products and their fortunes were destroyed. And I asked her this question: do you research the people that you're going to vote for? And she says, I don't really worry about that. Now, Mr. Simmons has said something, Commissioner Simmons has said something interesting. He says he goes to neighborhood planning councils and they didn't have a problem with this or whatever. Well, I've been to those councils too. And I've had people complain about their neighbors when their neighbors had done nothing wrong. But the person doing the complaining had problems with his property for the code issues that he was complaining about. The other people, he had problems. He didn't like it being inflicted on. Now, what is happening here as far as Mr. Simmons and things of that nature is that this is simply a restriction of one's rights, simply. So I'm going to give you one other thing which is also part historic. Back over around 20 years ago, when Mayor Brian Kirkham was the mayor, there was a complaint within the people here that you were not responding to their concerns. And so after a while, a lot of them didn't show up. But Brian Kirkham decided to have something new. He had a meeting every month set aside at a different location to have the staff and the commissioners deal with people and also speak directly. This was also in the newspaper if you decide to look it up. What was interesting is after a while, people didn't show up there either, because they realized the same thing that was happening at this commission meeting was happening at that meeting that they had off to the side. And the reason was they didn't get and were not responded to, and they felt that their time was not very affordable coming up here. Now, we're almost coming up to an hour in this commission meeting, and unfortunately, I've spoken a number of times. I don't speak unless I have something to say, something that somebody may be interested in regards to the subject of the government. I'm opposed to most of the things you do. I'm opposed because you give people cost increases and don't tell them you're giving them cost increases. Over the last term of office for you, commissioners, you've approved 332 cost increases. But I'll guarantee you didn't go back to the citizens or the neighborhood councils and say, oh, by the way, we just gave you a bunch of cost increases. When you oppress people, I'll bet you don't go in front of your neighborhood councils and say, by the way, we just limited your First Amendment rights. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments at this time? Any other public comments? Hearing none. Chris Simmons, do you have any comments to make? I would assume it's no.
He's trying to come
There you are. Chris?
Are you muted?
Do we have his audio?
Maybe that was my fault. Maybe I did mute myself. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Sorry about that. First off, I wanted to thank city staff. I, on a few occasions, have to go for my service with the Michigan Air National Guard out of town, out of state, even out of country sometimes. And they've always been very helpful in accommodating me, in particular Bryce and Chad in the IT department. And then Vicki, she hooked me up with the agenda on my phone, so I can do the voting. So it makes it very easy. You know, I do want to address how people can access this. You're not limited to the city commission meetings to come for a very short period of time, and that's a great way to communicate with us. But there are other avenues. I frequently, and I know my fellow commissioners will agree, receive communications via email. And sometimes it's take me 5-10 minutes to read a long message that goes into much detail about a particular issue they're having or an issue that's on our agenda. Sometimes I'll receive a telephone call. I return every single telephone call that is made to me. And many times I talk to those folks on the phone 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes, and I can think of one very recently that the mayor and I joined one another at someone's residence to talk about a problem. It was a drainage issue. And we took a tour of that and then worked with that resident to come to a resolution. So neighborhood planning councils are another great way. I've never heard anybody time limited at a neighborhood planning council. If you have an issue, bring it to that, talk to us. There are usually commissioners there. So there are many other avenues for us to have engagement, and we do. And I do always appreciate comments and feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. Okay, are there any other commission comments at this time? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Vicki and the Department there of Elections. I heard we had a few things that needed to be recounted, and it was perfect score all the way. We did a fine job, so thank you for your staff and all the hard work to making sure that our elections are done properly, safe, and to the letter of the law.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other commission comments? Seeing none, we'll adjourn our meeting. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for attending in person.